welcome back. And if you tuned in late, I am just having a delightful visit with Kimberly Sims. And we can claim her. She's a native right here from the upstate of South Carolina, a graduate of Furman, and a master's from Clemson University. She's been a teacher, and she is an author and a poet. And I just am so thrilled to meet you and visit with you, and your interest in the history of our part of the United States, the textile industry, because that's all going to be forgotten.
Absolutely, absolutely. And to me too, I feel like we need to really honor our family members and our communities that spent, you know, from the 1890s forward, most people in South Carolina were working in the textile industry.
Some way, yes.
And a lot of times people don't realize that only 38% of the people that worked in textile mills were men. The rest were women and children. And I'm talking about in 1910, 1920, 1930. Whole families were working in the textile industry. And one of the interesting things about the book is it includes the photography of Lewis Hines, who was hired by the National Labor Commission as they were trying to fight against child labor to go and photograph the children that were working in the textile mills. And so those photographs...
So some of this is in this book as well.
Yeah, the photographs are in the book, and they kind of complement some of the poems as they kind of just describe both the hardship, because I wanted to include it was a hard life. You know, people would get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, they would work 12 hours a day, and then they were still farming. They were growing their own food. They were raising hogs. They were canning. I mean, just working so long. But at the same time, they would can together. They would take turns. You know, you grow potatoes, I'll grow beans. We'll all can together and we'll share. This week, we're going to kill your hog. Next week, we'll do mine. So it was this strength of community as they were living this tough life. So in the book, I wanted to capture some of the hardships, but I also wanted to capture the way that people work together, because I think today our world can be very lonely. I think there's a lot of isolation and loneliness. And I think that that's something we can try to aspire to get that sense of community back.
Okay, well now, what about some events that we wanted to talk about?
Yes, I'm really excited because I'm on a book tour right now, and I have a lot of events in the upstate. So on October the 21st, it is the Furman Homecoming, and they are having an alumni book signing. So I will be at the Barnes & Noble. At 11 o'clock in the morning. It's a free event. There'll be other authors there.
Now, what day is that?
And that's October the 21st. It's a Saturday.
October 21st, okay.
And so in the morning, I will be at the Barnes & Noble at Furman. And then that day at 6:30, I'm going to go to Spartanburg, another fabulous textile town. And I will be reading at 6:30 at the Hub City Bookstore and having my book launch, which I'm very excited about. So I hope that you'll come. I'm going to do a reading. I'm going to have door prizes. We're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to talk about history, and I'm going to sign, you know, any books personally at that event too.
See, this is what I think we're losing, and thank God there are people like you, because we can't afford to lose the richness of the history that has bound this whole part of the United States together.
Yes, absolutely. And it's interesting because you can go to any town in the Piedmont of North Carolina, Georgia, South Carolina, Alabama, and you see this pattern, this shared history that we all have in our past. And I really wanted to shine a light on that history. And I think we should be proud. Everyone that worked in the industry should be proud, because a lot of the South today is built on that textile heritage. So it's really been a joy to kind of learn more about it, and most importantly, to get to share it with other people today.
So the book, Songs on Mill Hill, and is it available in stores?
It will be available by the end of the month, because it's just being launched, but you can go to KimberlyJSims.com and buy a copy today, and I will personally sign it and mail it to you. You can also follow me on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter at Kimberly J. Sims. And also, if there's any young writers or teenagers, I do lots of events in the area for young writers. So if you follow me on Facebook, you'll be able to keep up with some of the events that I do for young
That's
people.
exciting.
It is. It's fun. I
So
love working with kids.
You actually could go into the schools?
Yeah, I go into schools, and then also kids come to me. So I work with lots of different community events and the community programs. I do workshops for teenagers. And
All right, now what kind of workshops do you do for
so,
teenagers?
for example, events where, like at the Peace Center, I did an event last year where teenagers came in and we wrote about fairy tale poems, and then I gave some kids some pointers on how to recite their poems. Kids love to express their feelings and their ideas, and I think that poetry is a great way for kids not only to express themselves, but also to connect with other teenagers through sharing poetry and sharing their ideas and feelings. So definitely follow me. I don't have an event on the calendar this month, but I have a lot of stuff coming up in the new year where kids could come and take a workshop with me. Or if you have a school group or a church and you would like me to come and visit you, I do that as well.
I am sure, as I sit here, that you are a blessing wherever you go. And our young people today, you can inspire to turn off the TV and get out a book.
Yes, absolutely. And to sit down and get to write. I mean, being a teenager is hard today. So to be able to have a way to express your feelings and your ideas and write out some of that frustration, I think is just really important. But also to capture some of the joys in life, because there's a lot of amazing things and a lot of blessings that we all have today. And I think poetry can help us celebrate our blessings and work through any problems that we're having.
Now, this is your first endeavor.
It is my first endeavor.
Songs on Mill Hill.
And it has just been such a good time to write the poems and to share them with people. And there's poems in here about baseball, about whittling, about all kinds of different things. I mean, there's serious poems and there's funny poems.
See, this is truly American.
Yeah, and this poem is designed that anybody can pick up this book and just read a poem, because I don't think that you should have to have a fancy degree to be able to understand what a poem says. So just like Carl Sandburg, who inspires me greatly, I wanted to write a book of poetry that is for everyday people. For anybody who's in high school or an adult should just be able to pick this up and kind of travel back in time with me to the 1920s and 30s and experience what it was like to work in a textile mill, both the joys and the hardships.
Now, when you have time, do you go into the schools and talk to English classes?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I go to universities and all sorts of different places. I even travel. I go as far as Atlanta to go to schools. I'm not only on the South Carolina Arts Commission's Teaching Artist roster, I'm also here with the Metropolitan Arts Council. So I love to go and work with kids in the community as much as I can. It's a blessing to be with kids. They really inspire me because they can teach us a lot as much as we can teach them.
I think this is wonderful. And what advice do you have maybe to parents who have children in school?
If you have kids in school,
to encourage them.
You definitely want to try to encourage them to read, and the best way that you can do that is to model for your kids. So what I try and do, and this is tough, is to take a little time and turn off my show. And that's hard to do. Turn off my TV show and get out a book, and then not only I can read to my kid, but also I can read and they can read. And I think when your kids see you doing other activities, which is hard when you've been at work all day sometimes, but I think it is important to kind of model some other activities that you can do other than watching TV.
Yeah. Do you have plans in the making to continue writing?
I do.
I wonder why I thought this wouldn't be your only book.
I have another book of poetry almost complete, and I also have a young adult novel that I'm on my third draft of, and so hopefully that's going to be my next project, is to get an actual novel out too.
I think we have a star right here in our midst, right here from Travelers Rest, South Carolina, and I'm sure that you are becoming very well known, and you spent time in England and
I did.
Studied and worked.
I did. Both of my parents are from England. They moved here. My dad is a machine tool engineer. And so he moved to the Carolinas in the late 70s, and I grew up here. But I did have the opportunity to go and live in London for 3 years and just kind of soak up the culture.
Yeah.
But I love being in my hometown, and I wanted to bring some of what I learned in London back here to Greenville, because I think that, and this has happened, I think, in Greenville, you know, we can make our hometown be as amazing as we want it to be. In Greenville, it's just such a beacon. Everywhere I go, people are like, oh, you live in Greenville, it's so fabulous.
We're very blessed.
We are so blessed. It's just a great town to be in. It really is. I enjoy it so much.
Well, I hope that you will continue your outreach to the schools and to young people, and that you'll come back.
Well, I would love to.
And this book is available now.
Yes, ma'am.
Right? And it's Songs of Mill Hill. And if you didn't get the information, I'll keep it here. But it is a joy, Kimberly, to have had you here with me.
Well, thank you
Bless
so much.
you, and come back.
Thank you.
And
Bless
wherever
too.
you are, if you have children, pick up a book and read to them. Turn off the TV and read to your kids. It's a wonderful way to be close. Stay happy, and we'll see you next time.